Joe Barr, and we are up here on a beautiful night for football. We had a little bit of rain this afternoon, but field condition, Pat, seems to be in pretty good shape. We were just sitting back enjoying the combined bands of the Oil City High School and Franklin High School playing the national anthem, Oil City's alma mater. What do you think about this game, Pat?
Well, I think, well, first off, it was kind of impressive to see both bands. A lot of numbers out there tonight, Scott. And as you mentioned, a beautiful night so far for football. We hope if you're sitting at home waiting for something to happen, come on out, because maybe the worst of the storm perhaps has passed over. Everyone's been listening to the warnings just like we have, but we have a grand crowd on hand. A lot of people still filing in, I think, sitting in the cars just waiting for the tip-off, and I'll tell you, it's going to be a real tremendous ball game tonight. Always a good game, Oil City and Franklin.
I think the camaraderie we saw out there in the field, that's going to be about it for this evening. Oil City, Franklin, I don't know, these two teams don't really seem to like each other. We're 8 miles apart, and it's always usually the best game of the year. It certainly, at least from a players and coaches standpoint, was always the most exciting game of the year. So we're looking forward to a real good one here this evening. I also want to mention here on 96 KQW that we are going to be replaying this game tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock on Venango Video. That is Channel 13 in Oil City tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And Venango Video was nice enough to find us a monitor, Pat. So not only can I see the game live on the field, I can look down here and who knows, maybe pick up Murphy Brown during halftime.
I'll tell you, it's going to be kind of interesting because of the inclement weather. We have one camera that moved into the press box with us, so we're going to have maybe the same view, but they do have the benefit of the sideline camera there that seems to pick up a little better action than we can sometimes see in the deep shadows of the field here.
Yeah, when it gets down there inside the 20s, it's a little bit hard from the press box to see who did what to whom. But we're going to find out who is going to be in the field. We'll take a look at some of the starting lineups. We'll do that right after these.
The concession stand located at the end of the home bleachers. There are plenty of good drinks, including hot chocolate, coffee, cold sodas, and plenty of great food, including hot pizza, chili dogs, and hot sausage sandwiches. The student council would like to acknowledge Roy Rogers Restaurant from the Cranberry Mall for donating all the cups for tonight's contest. Thank you, Roy Rogers.
Just taken the field. We're still waiting on Oil City to come down. Let's take a look at those Knights defensive players. Pat, you look across the board here and you see a lot of beef. There are 12 men on the Franklin Knight roster that weigh 200 pounds or more, and defensively they've got 4 of those 200-pounders on the front line. I guess they did make a change, so at one position this may not be entirely right. Chances are Franklin will come out in a 4-4 on defense. At the tackles will be Fred Doyle and Dan Greavy. We may see Mike Bell in there. Each of those over 210 pounds. At the ends, it should be Joe Hazelton, a 6'4", 250-pound senior, and Mike Bell might be the other end. They may move him inside. At the linebackers, inside linebacker will be Jason Blair, a 6'1", 200-pound senior. At the other inside linebacker will be the coach's son, Casey Hancock, 6'1", 190-pound senior. And at the outside linebackers will be Aaron Craddy, a 5'7", 170-pound senior, and Jeff Steigerwald, who is enjoying a heck of a season, Pat. He returned the fumble 50-plus yards to set up the first CD in the Mercyhurst game, and also batted out a pass against Titusville. So Franklin's 2-0 with wins over Mercyhurst 20-6. and over Titusville last week 13-7. They look pretty good. At the corners, it's going to be Boomer Wood, who something you don't see a whole lot in high school football. The quarterback going both ways. He's 5'9", a 140-pound senior. He'll play one of the corners. Rob Sharp, a 5'8", 165-pound senior, will be at the other corner. And the safety will be Mark Patton, 5'11", 165. So Pat's pretty big players for Franklin tonight.
When the old commercial that we heard a couple years ago, "Where's the beef, Scott?" I think it all ended up down in Franklin. We just had the flip of the coin, and the Knights will be receiving. They'll be moving the ball as we look at the field. From our left to our right, they'll be going towards the goal nearest the Vo-Tech School here in Oil City. And we're going to be ready to play here in just a moment.
We'll be back with a kickoff right after these.
I'd like to take a moment to congratulate the Oil City Middle School girls basketball team. Today the girls defeated Meadville 49-10. Congratulations, Oil City Middle School girls basketball team. Kicking off for Oil City, number 67, Damian Barr. Franklin, number 20, Mark Patton, and number 24, Aaron Craddy.
Football field just about ready to get underway. The Oilers taking on the Knights. The Oilers will tee it off. Damian Barr will kick, and deep for Franklin should be number 20, and that is Mark Patton. Damian will kick it off. It's a short kick, landing down around the 25-yard line. It'll bounce, picked up by one of the Knight players. He'll bring it back, tackled by number 89 for the Oilers. That's Chad Baker on the suicide team coming up to make the stop.
Mark Patton on the return for Franklin for very little gain there, Scott.
So the Oilers come out with their 5-2 defense. What we get from the Franklin Knights on offense, Pat, is a lot of power football. They're going to come out in the eye a lot. You might see a counter. They haven't run that yet, but it's pretty much going to be power football. No deep passes, maybe a few short things, but a lot of power football. And Boomer Wood is the quarterback. He's number 33. In the I backfield, he'll hand off to the second man through, and that is number 24, Aaron Craddy. Looks like he carried the ball, Pat. He gets up, where will they spot that? Let me see here. He picks up about 6 yards on the carry, and that'll bring up a 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, depending on the spot. Oil City coming off a bad beating last week by the Greenville Trojans. They didn't look good at all. They got down early. The key to this game, Dan Brown said, is to hold the score down early and keep Franklin's offense off the field. So Franklin comes out on offense again. Once again in the I backfield. Boomer Wood looking over the set. He'll keep it. He'll roll out left, and he's tripped up by an Oil City player. That looked like Damian Barr, number 67, getting into the backfield. And Damian, the biggest Oiler on the team, weighing in at 235 pounds. And if anybody can get by some of that beef, Pat, it might be Damian Barr.
And there was a loss of about 3 yards on the play, bring up a 3rd down, as maybe the grass just a little bit wet there. And the Knights coming up with a 3rd down and about 7.
3rd and 7, 10:41. We're just underway here in the first quarter. Oilers on defense. Boomer Wood calling the signals again in the I backfield. They're playing power football. Looking to pass. He'll drop back, but he is sacked. Sacked that time by, I think that was number 24, Jeremy Tobin, coming over from his defensive end spot. Boomer Wood dropped back. Didn't even have a chance to really look downfield, Pat. He had Oilers in his face, so as Dan Brown said, maybe Franklin hasn't been tested yet.
We had a 3rd and 7. Now we got about a 4th and 14 for the Knights as they get ready to punt.
4th and an acre. They will have to punt here. Dropping back for Oil City will be Mike Stevens and TJ Carbaugh back for the Oilers. Franklin will punt the football. Good snap. He'll get it off. A high one falling down around midfield, and TJ will call for the fair catch. on the Franklin 47-yard line. So the Oilers, Pat, last week, they had terrible field position the whole game. This week, their first possession on offense, they start out great.
Last week, Scott, we were starting out down on the 30 just about every time we got the ball back. But now, as you say, down on the Franklin 47-yard line, 1st and 10 for the blue and white.
9:46 left to go here in the first quarter. There is no score in the ball game. Dave Kraft will come over to center the ball. The Oilers will come out on offense. Steve Hanlon is the quarterback. They're in the wishbone set. Hanlon will look over the signals. He'll call him. He'll hand off to Stevens, running off his right side, and Stevens gets nowhere, Pat. He may have made it back to the line of scrimmage, possibly have even lost a yard on that play. And looking at the spot, they're going to say he lost about maybe half a yard.
Well, we'll give him credit for a loss of a yard there, Scott. And as we saw in the pregame hype here, that the Knights definitely were. I think everybody in the conference will be keying in on Mike Stevens here.
Last week against Titusville gained about 50 yards total on offense. They'll see if Oil City can do better here. They'll come out in the wishbone once again, handling the quarterback. Call the signals. He'll hand off to the second man through, and again, that is Stevens, and Stevens will run off his left guard and pick up maybe 3, possibly 4, Pat, but not a whole lot more.
And it brings up a 3rd down. Scott, the ball down on the Franklin, about the 44-yard line of the Knights.
Oil City most of the time trying to establish the run. Last week they had to get out of their game plan. They fell behind early and had to throw a lot more than they would have liked. But as Dan said on Coach's Corner, wants to stick to a ground game, establish that, then throw maybe only if he needs to or mix it up a little bit. Oil City coming out now in the broken bone. They're at their own 44-yard line. Pratty the center. He'll take it, hand it back, pitch back to Stevens. Stevens looking to go outside on the right, and defense strings him out, Pat, and he'll get knocked out of bounds, and again, he may lose anything he gained just a moment ago.
Exactly, Scott. I think it's going to be about a loss of maybe 4 yards. It's going to be a 4th down. In fact, maybe even 5-yard loss on the play. 4th down for the Oilers as they'll have to punt.
Well, the beef inside for the Franklin Knights, Pat, and Oil City maybe just not having the weight to move some of those players out of there. They may look to run outside a lot this evening. That's the first time the Oilers did go outside, but Franklin also showed quickness there, stringing the ball out, and Oil City will go into punt. TJ Carbaugh, the punter, high snap. He'll pull it down, just get it off. He'll get a high one, and it'll fall down around the 20-yard line and bounce. Franklin will let it go, and Oil City is going to pin them deep, Pat. They're going to stop that ball down around the 4-yard line.
So good field position for, as far as the Oiler defense is concerned, not too hot for Franklin as they take off with the ball now on the 4-yard line of Franklin.
Franklin pinned deep. They do not have good field position here. Oil City needs to hold them, make them punt, get the ball back, and try once again. Franklin with a slow, plodding offense. They just kind of ground it out, and if Oil City can plug up some of those holes, they can maybe pull out a win here. On defense for the Oilers, we'll see Ben Knight in the middle. Damian Barr and Mark Lukasiak will be the tackles. Jason Schneeberger, who had a heck of a game last week, and Jeremy Tobin will be the ends. On defense, Boomer with the quarterback. He'll hand off to, I think that was Rob Sharp, carried the ball. He goes up the middle, picks up a few. They'll give him about 1.5 yards, maybe 2, Pat, not much more.
Rob Sharp, a 165-pound senior.
At the linebackers for Oil City will be Dave Kraft and Sean Benson. At the corners, Mike Eckert, Chad Baker. In the safety, Jeremy Amendola, the strong safety. TJ Carbaugh is the free safety. Boomer Wood is the quarterback. Fullback steps up and go in motion. That's Casey Hancock. Passes to Casey. Excuse me, I was faked out on that play, Pat. It looked like I thought he was going to go to the option there. But anyway, Franklin picks up not a bad gain that time, Pat, but
the ball handed off to Aaron Craddy on the fake there, Scott. He picks up a couple yards, and it brings up like a 3rd down and about 3. 3rd down and 3 for the Knights.
My eyes are going back and forth here between my monitor and the football field, and somewhere in between there, I missed who they handed that off to. So now we've got 3rd down and about 3. Look for the Knights to keep it on the ground here. Boomer Wood is the quarterback. Hands off inside, and Franklin will pick up a couple of yards, maybe enough for the 1st down. It's going to be close, Pat.
Looks like number 23, that's Casey Hancock's the ball carrier. And it's going to be a 4th down. We'll wait and see where they put the ball. It's still going to be, it is going to be a 4th down. Not enough for the necessary yardage there, Scott.
So Oil City did what they wanted to do. They pinned Franklin deep on the punt, stopped him. Now they get the ball back. Deep again for the Oilers will be Stevens and T.J. Carbaugh, and they're going to sit down around the 42-yard line. So they're expecting a short kick and hopefully a good return for the Oilers. We've got some rain falling down here, and that might make that ball a little bit slippery. Snap is good. He'll get the kickoff. Not a very high one. T.J. Carbaugh will let it hit and let it roll. And the Oilers will, or Franklin Knights will down the ball down around the 43-yard line, their own 43. And Pat, the monsoon has come.
I'm kind of glad right now I'm inside here, Scott. Yeah, the skies have opened, the umbrellas are out, and the teams are just getting soggy as the ball game goes on. Oil City with a 1st and 10 on the Franklin 43-yard line.
I was all ready for this game. I had on my blue, I had on my white, I had on my green monsoon coat, and I'm glad I brought it, because if I've got to walk to the car in this weather, I want to stay dry. Oil City on offense. Hanlon is the quarterback. They're in the bone backfield. Looks like movement out there. Flags fly, and Pat, it was hard to see. I think maybe Franklin might have jumped.
Well, I didn't see myself. We'll just have to wait for the call by the ref here. But had they not, I'll tell you, Hanlon was in some kind of trouble. Yeah, it's going to be offsides against the Franklin Knights, so be a break for Oil City. Give them a 1st and 5. Ball will be moved down to about the 37, 38-yard line.
There was a lot of movement out there on both sides, and apparently Franklin was drawn offside, or something caused them to move. In any case, 1st and 5 now. Oil City with a little bit of a break here. They've got the ball on the Franklin 38, 39-yard line. And the Oilers will come out on offense. There is no score. 4:35. We're ticking down here in the 1st quarter of play. In the bone backfield. Call the signal. Hands off to Mike Stevens. Stevens looking to go off his right guard again, and just more or less falling forward, Pat. The 190-pound senior might have picked up a couple of yards and not much more.
Looks like about a yard. Scott, it's going to be a 2nd and 4 for Oil City.
And I thought the official was calling a timeout. Man, it's coming down. I'm glad I'm inside, Pat.
I think he was slowing things down to get a dry ball or a little drier ball there.
I don't know if you can get a dry ball in this kind of weather. Somebody was saying 2 years ago it did this.
I was here, Scott. Lightning and thunder. I think in the whole northwest Pennsylvania, this was the only game that was played that evening. All the other area and regional schools canceled 2 years ago. They're playing now as some people are heading for under the grandstand.
I was down on the field. I'm glad I moved up in the booth. Oil City on offense. Wishbone backfield once again. Hanlon hands off to Stevens. They're making him the workhorse. He'll pick up a couple. He's relatively close to that 1st down. He may be about a half a yard shy, but Stevens getting most of the work here on this Friday evening. And they look like they are a little bit short. That'll bring up 3rd and about a half a yard. On defense for the Knights, up front, we've got Mike Bell, Fred Doyle, Dan McGreevy, and Joe Hazelton. Oil City coming out on offense. Once again, the wishbone backfield. They'll split the tight end wide on the left side. That's Sean Benson, the Oiler of the week. And that's Stevens. He tries to go. Carbaugh tries to go up the middle. He goes off the left side, bounces off the file. Second effort gets him the 1st down, Pat.
A great second effort there by T.J. Carbaugh. Now the window's getting a little misty here, too, but it's going to move the ball down. I can't even see the spot down around the 30, maybe about the 31-yard line of Franklin on the 1st down by Carbaugh.
You know anybody with one of those big squeegees?
My daughter would do it, but she can't really reach the window.
Okay, so I think I'm going to watch it on TV here, Pat. I think I see a little bit better. Oil City on offense. The I backfield this time. Hanlon is the quarterback. He'll take the snap, and he'll hand off to number 24. That is the fullback for the Oil City Oilers, and that's Tobin. Tobin hit at the line of scrimmage, and if they give him one, he'll be lucky.
Well, he wasn't really too lucky there, Scott, because they give him nothing. It'll be a 2nd down and 10 for Oil City.
2nd and 10. I tell you, I thank Venango Video for this monitor here, Pat, because it's a little bit clearer than our window. And I'm glad I'm inside. It's really coming down out there, folks. There you get a shot of, for the TV folks, a shot of the umbrellas. and they need them this evening. Oil City football on 96 KQW FM. Glad to have you along this evening. Hanlon on the keeper. I don't know if that was a misplay or what. It looked like he went to hand off. Nobody was there. He keeps it, rolls out on his right side, and that is about the biggest gain for Oil City on this drive. I think he's going to pick up 5 or 6 yards on the carry, Pat.
A 5-yard pickup for the Oilers quarterback, bringing up a 3rd and 5. The ball down on the 25-yard line of Franklin.
1:44, counting it down here in the first quarter. No score, but they've pretty much played this entire first quarter in Franklin territory. And with weather like this, you never know what's going to happen, folks. Keep it right here on 96 KQW FM. Scott Roberts and Pat Folwell with the play-by-play in the action. Oil City on offense. Wishbone backfield. Hanlon hands off that time, fakes to Tobin, hands off to Stevens, running off his left side. He'll carry a couple of those white Franklin shirts with him. And he'll gain a few yards on the carry, enough to pick up the first down, and they will move to 6. Oil City with, I believe, Pat, their second first down of the ball game.
Second first down on the carry by Mike Stevens.
We haven't seen Jeremy Amendola touch the ball yet this evening. In with the play now from Coach Dan Brown is number 15, and that's T.J. Carbaugh. Right now, the officials have called a timeout, or Oil City has. Right. We will take a timeout, and we'll be back right after this. The Oilers on offense. That was the Knights that had taken the timeout. Oil City is threatening here on the 18-yard line. And the quarterback will take the snap. He'll hand off to Stevens, the second man through, running off his right side. Stevens hit by a host of white shirts. Oil City in their dark blue this evening with the white numbers. Franklin comes out with their white helmets, their white pants, their white jerseys, and red numbers. But Pat, with this rain coming down, I think we're going to get a little muddy out there here pretty soon.
Well, as we talked with Crunk Porter last week here at halftime, Scott, he mentioned how great the field was, but they really were never tested. So tonight might really be a good test.
They might tear this up a little bit, especially when you got those 200-pounders out there, digging in, trying to stop the Oilers. Steve Hanlon making an adjustment in the backfield now. He'll get under center and call the signals. Oil City again in the wishbone. And he'll take the snap, hands off once again to Stevens. Stevens looking for some daylight, doesn't find a whole lot. Picks up a few, maybe close again to the first down. From our angle, it's a little bit hard to see. A host of Knights coming up off the pile. We're inside a minute now in this first quarter of play. No score, but the Oilers are threatening.
That was a 3-yard pickup for Mike Stevens, bring up a 3rd down and 1. The ball down on the Franklin 10-yard line.
So, Pat, that is the end of the first quarter as they let time expire. And again, the skies open up again. Oil City's fired up, so are we. We'll take a break. We'll come right back.
Hutchinson's Funeral Home in Oil City would like to remind KQW listeners of the advantages of forethought funeral planning. Don't risk the security of your...
City Laundromat Car Wash at 418 Seneca Street, Oil City would like to recommend their new touchless car wash system with the gentle touch. A regular wash is $5. Wash and wax, $6, and Deluxe Wash with spot-free rinse, $7. All 6 self-serve bays have the new spot-free rinse available. And don't forget Carriage City's exceptional laundromat. They have 3 sizes of washers and 16 dryers for your convenience. Open 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. There's always an attendant on duty. Carriage City Laundromat and Car Wash wishes the Oilers good luck.
Well, we're back here at Oil City High School football field, and folks, looks like we're going to do the rest of this game without the aid of the scoreboard. Lightning struck it during the time we were away, and it is out, inoperable. So, Pat, 2 games, and that scoreboard's out already.
Quickly, in the first quarter, we had 21 net yards for Oil City and 4 net yards for Franklin. The Oilers had 2 first downs. Franklin had none. Franklin had 5 yards in penalties. We're ready to play ball.
So, folks, we're going to try to bring you this game minus the scoreboard. Again, we want to thank Venango Video for providing us with this monitor. That's going to be a big help. Don't forget, they'll be replaying this Oil City Franklin game tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock on Oil City Channel 13. So the Oilers will huddle up. And with that lightning, I thought maybe that the officials might delay the game a little bit, send some of the players under the stands, but it looks like they're going to say play ball.
Well, I think really, Scott, the biggest delay here, getting ready for the second quarter, they're just maybe synchronizing their watches because they're going to have to keep time down on the field now.
That is true. Oil City again on offense. They come out in the wishbone backfield. Hanlon is the quarterback, trying to punch it in and score here. He'll hand off to Stevens off his left side, and Stevens will keep for a couple. Enough for the first down, I do believe, Pat. Oil City was facing a 3rd and 1 there, and Stevens, well, now we're going to wait on the spot. They have go ahead and now they indicate that it's 4th down and inches.
Yeah, it looked from where I was watching, Scott, it looked as though he was going to be just a little short because he went down just as quick as he got the handoff. So it's going to be 4th down. We have timeout on the field called by Oil City, and we'll be right back.
They have fulfilled the needs of many satisfied and returning customers. Corn Electric is open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5 with free delivery in the local area. Call 677-2020. Corn Electric would like KQW listeners to know that community support is important. So Corns would like to express their appreciation and support of the Oil City area and wish the Oilers good luck in '92.
And we're back here at Oil City High School Stadium. Pat, it's times like these I wish I would have opened up an umbrella stand down there somewhere and made a lot of money.
There, the scoreboard is back on. Now we have 11:34 remaining here to play in the first half. There's no score as Oil City called the timeout. They're ready for play, 4th and inches, with the ball down on the Franklin about 10-yard line.
And in 4-down territory, naturally, the Oilers are going to go for it here. Got to look for Stevens or Tobin, maybe even a quarterback keeper. Oil City again in the wishbone. And they give it to Stevens, I believe. And he will get the first down. It's going to be close. We're waiting on the spot. It's going to be a close one. He kind of tried to dive over the whole right side of the line, but again, met, Pat, by some of that big beef. They're going to bring out the sticks and measure.
They were ready as we have no score if you're just joining us from a rain-filled Oil City High Stadium. Franklin Oil City at play. No score here in the second quarter.
The Knights throw their hands up in the air, Pat. I guess they have stopped them. And that's got to hurt Oil City's morale just a little bit. They've played virtually this whole first half of the game in Franklin territory. And Franklin had been bending just enough to get Oil City first downs. That time they hold them. And Franklin will take over with the ball on their own 9-yard line now. Franklin, the bigger team, certainly this evening, and in wet conditions, sometimes that helps. So Oil City now back on defense, and Franklin Knights on offense. Oil City mixing up that 5-2. And they'll hand off to number 22. He fumbles. I think Oil City may have got it, Pat. They do, and I think T.J. Carball was the one that picked it up. Nobody actually caused that fumble. Just the wet conditions, I think, were alone to cause it. And I'm not sure. I think it was Aaron Craddy or Rob Sharp that were carrying the ball that time, but either one of them, somebody just didn't get a good grip. I don't know if it was a bad handoff, but in any case, they let the ball slip out of their hands. Oil City falls on it, so as quickly as they gave up the football on downs, they get it back right here. And it's going to be on their own, or excuse me, the Franklin 19, 20-yard line. Oil City now on offense in the wishbone backfield. Franklin in the 4-4 defense. He'll hand off to Stevens, and Stevens just barely got the handoff before he was smacked in the face by one of those Franklin Knights. He may have lost a couple of yards on that one, Pat, just a breakdown on the offensive line that time.
Well, in fact, there was a loss of about 3 yards there. Again, when you talk about the size of Mike Stevens up against the size of that Franklin line, he really didn't have much of a chance there. Loss of 3 would be a 2nd and 13 for Oil City.
Coach Hancock was a little bit worried. Stevens had bulked up during the offseason, put on a few pounds, very strong and quick at 190 pounds, but no match for some of those 200-plus pound players for the Franklin Knights. Oil City again on offense, wishbone backfield. Handled on the keeper. He'll look to pass in this rain, and intended for number 24 for the Oilers. And that's Jeremy Tobin, the fullback. You don't see him thrown to the fullback too often, Pat, but just couldn't get a grip on the ball.
I think they kind of caught Franklin off guard there. I don't think the Knights were expecting a pass here with the heavy rain coming down like this, Scott.
I don't think anybody was. This is when you need to get 2 hands on the ball, folks, in this kind of weather. As Franklin will attest to that, they lost it when they stopped Oil City. Oil City threatening once again on the Franklin 21-yard line. No score. We're inside 9:50 left to go in the first half. And Oil City on offense. Hanlon is the quarterback. He'll roll out again left, and he'll throw deep, looking for Benson. And that falls incomplete. He had Benson deep around the goal line, and I think the pass just fell a little bit short. Really kind of up for grabs that time, Pat. He was lucky he wasn't picked off.
That brings up the 4th down for the Oilers. Again, 4th and 13, and when you mentioned Benson, the receiver, he was Oiler of the Week. Congratulations to Sean Benson. 4th and 13 with 9:44 remaining to play here in the first half of play here at Oil City. No score between the Knights and the Oilers.
It's kind of tough decision here, Pat, what they're going to do. They need a whole bunch to pick up a first down, so you've almost got to try to go in the end zone because they need, 13, 14 yards to pick up the first down. They haven't really had any big gainers here in this first half of play, but they're going to go for it anyway. Out of the I backfield. Steve Hanlon's the quarterback. He'll keep it, and he'll look for number 42. That's Stevens. Stevens pulls it in. But he is going to be short, Pat. He picked up a couple of yards and gets tackled down around the 8-yard line. Not quite enough for the first down. So Franklin will once again get the ball on downs. Nice catch by Mike Stevens under very adverse conditions. But even with the run after the catch, not quite enough to pick up the first down. So Franklin will get the ball back. They stopped the Oilers for the 2nd time in a row. Following a night fumble, Oil City had the ball back, and we're threatening once again. Pat, if nothing else, at least we're keeping Franklin backed up against the wall.
Exactly, just where you want them on a night like this too, Scott. Deep in their own territory, and they're working under the same conditions at Oil City, and that ball is wet for both teams.
9:27, and we're counting down here in the first half. Boomer Wood, the quarterback for the Knights. And he'll keep that one that time, Pat. I don't know if maybe he might have even dropped the ball, but he'll try to move forward, and he'll pick up maybe about a yard. They'll give him maybe a yard and a half. Getting inside 9 minutes left to go here. There is no score. In case you may have just tuned in, we played the entire ball game for the most part in Franklin territory.
Right now the ball on the Franklin 10, 2nd and 9 on the Knights 10-yard line.
In the backfield for the Knights, it's Boomer Wood, Casey Hancock, Eric Barefoot, and Rob Sharp. And they will come out. Boomer will hand off to Craddy. Craddy will pick up, maybe even lose a yard that time, Pat.
Looks like about a loss of a yard at least on the play.
8:26 to go here in the first half of play. Oil City on defense. They run a 5-2. At linebackers, Dave Kraft and Sean Benson. Free safeties, T.J. Carbaugh. The strong safety is Jeremy Amendola. At the corners, it's Mike Eckert and Chad Baker. Up front, we've got Jason Schneeberger, Jeremy Tobin, Damian Barr, Mark Lukasiak, and Ben Knight. And a timeout on the field taken by the Franklin Knights. We will take a timeout. We'll be back right after these.
Oil City Sewing Center now has 2 locations to help you with all your sewing needs, 46 Seneca Street and now at the Cranberry Mall, located at Joann Fabrics. 35 years experience in service and selling sewing machines. Oil City Sewing Center has trade-ins, has layaway and financing available, credit cards accepted. For all your sewing supplies, stop at either 46 Seneca Street Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 5 p.m., Saturday 9:30 to 3 p.m., or at Joann Fabrics at the Cranberry Mall 10 to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 12 to 5 Sunday. Oil City Sewing Center supports the Oilers for a winning season.
And we're back here at Oil City High School football field as the Oilers right now on a timeout. Pat, I got to say something. Have you noticed how popular the press box get during a rainstorm?
It's one of the nicest heated, dry places at the stadium tonight here, Scott. And I think if the fans in the stands could get up here, they'd be here too.
What they don't realize is now that they're in the press box, they have to talk to us during halftime. That usually clears them out. Okay, the timeout is expired. We've got 8:10 left to go here in the first half of play. Franklin Knights on their own 10-yard line, facing a 3rd and 9. A passing down certainly here for the Knights on offense. In motion is number 29, that's Rob Sharp, and they will pitch it to number 27, or excuse me, that is Sharp that gets the carry. And he will pick up only a couple of pats, so that's going to be now 4th and about 6. And they will have to punt here. So again, Oil City should get the ball back in good field position. Deep for the Oilers will be T.J. Carbaugh and number 42, Mike Stevens. Weather like this, Pat, you almost want to let the ball hit. You don't want to try to field it sometimes because it might be a little bit slippery and you could lose a handle on it. Oil City look like they may try to block it, though. They've got some people coming. No, they go for the return. Good kick, landed about the 45, fielded by Carbaugh. Carbaugh running to his right. He's at the 40. And he is brought down around the 40-yard line by number 68 for the Knights, and that's Jim Aylesworth, a 185-pound junior. So Oil City back on offense, and again, Pat, great field position. They're at about their own Knight 40-yard line.
Again, a real nice turnaround from last week's, Scott. All the circumstances are different. You know, Oil City in great field position, 1st and 10 on the Franklin 40, with 7:22 remaining to play here in the second quarter. There's no score if you're just joining us on 96.3 KQW FM.
FM Oil City. Oil City with the football. They're in the wishbone backfield, handling the quarterback. The Knights coming. They pitch back to Stevens. Excuse me, that is not Stevens. That's T.J. Carbaugh. And no, that is Stevens. That was right the first time. He'll run off his right side and pick up a couple. They're still trying to keep it on the ground, Pat. And they ran to the short side of the field that time. Maybe a little bit ill-advised there. Franklin didn't really have to string it out too far, and they shut Stevens down. So 2nd and 10 now for the Oil City Oilers. No score, 6:47, and we're counting down here in the first half of play. Tobin now will come out of the ball game. Stevens moves to fullback. Amendola now is the flanker, and T.J. Carbaugh is your tailback. So maybe a pass to Amendola here. We'll call the signals. He'll fake this. No, he'll hand off to Stevens at the fullback position, and Stevens will grind out about 6, maybe 7 yards. So we're looking now at about 4th and 5. 3rd and 5, excuse me. No, we'll call it 3rd and 7.
I was going to say, Scott, you're just a little more generous than they're giving them on the sideline there. We'd like to go with your stat, but we'll have to go with the sideline man.
Unfortunately. Maybe a passing down. I thought they were going to pass. They brought in Amendola, put him out at flanker. And sometimes an indication whether Oil City's going to throw. This time Amendola will split out to his left side. Stevens will still be the fullback. TJ is the tailback. Hanlon calls the signals. And I don't know if a mix-up that time or not, Pat. He went to hand off to Stevens, kept the ball, tucked it under, ran off his left side, and there was a flag on the play. So could be a face mask, could be a personal foul. It looked like it was after the tackle was done. And one of the Oilers, Sean Benson, indicates that it is against Oil City. Holding against Oil City, so that will take him back 10, Pat. That's something the Oilers didn't need.
And that's the first mistake for Oil City tonight. 5:38 remaining to play here.
I don't know.
In the first half of play. Clock running at 5:32. Whatever you did, it's in the area. Here, you go, let me try it. You try it.
And we're back on. 5:20 left to go here. Oil City forced to punt the ball. And right now the Franklin Knights have it back, and they will have a 1st and 10. And it looks like it's going to be waiting for the spot there on about the 11-yard line. Oil City with the football. We're off the air again, get knocked off. Okay, we're back on again. We're having some problems. I think the Lightning may have been knocking us off, Pat. Franklin with the football now. And Boomer will keep it and run off his right side. And he'll pick up, hands off to Hancock, excuse me, picks up a couple. 2nd and 8 now. 4:49 left to go here in the first half of play. Oil City playing a very good game defensively. They've pretty much kept the Knights in their own end of the field. 2nd and 9 now, counting down 4:33. Oil City with a 5-2 defense. Boomer Wood is the quarterback, calling the signals. He'll pitch back to number 23, excuse me, that's Hancock. Hancock's running off his left side. Gets a couple. Oil City high-fiving out there. They shut him down, so Franklin again, again facing long field position. He lost a yard on that. That'll bring up 3rd and 9 now. 4:03 left to go here. On defense, the Oil City Oilers in their 5-2. Unbalanced line now. 3rd and almost 10 yards. Quarterback pitches back, loses the ball, and Oil City may have it, Pat. Down around the 9-yard line, somebody from the Oilers team might have fallen on it. Oil City's Dukes fall on it. They get the ball back, and coming up off that pile, Pat, I think it was, let me see if I can see his shirt there. Might have been Mark Lukasiak. A whole bunch of Oilers fall on the ball as it slips out in the backfield. That's one of those things that's where it happens, Pat, where you've got a wet ball. When you start pitching it around, it can fall out of the hands. First goal from the 9, Pat.
So Oil City in really great position. 3:27 remaining to play here in the first half of play. Oil City with the ball on the Franklin, down around to what, the 6-yard line, Scott?
They're saying on the scoreboard it's down around the 9, but we'll wait and see. Oil City on offense now. They've got the eye backfield. And Hanlon is keeping it, looking to throw, and he was looking in the end zone for Sean Benson, who was all alone, but he threw off his back foot and couldn't get the ball to him. Almost picked off out there by number 34 for the Knights. That was Eric Barefoot, one of the cornerbacks. Not a good throw that time, Pat.
And Oil City will try it again, 2nd down with 3:08 remaining here in the second half of play. I think we're all right there, Scott. I thought we had another problem.
We got knocked off the air, but I guess we just got a loose cord up here.
That's minor. I thought the other one was the major problem. But we're all right here at Oil City High. No score, Oil City and Franklin.
T.J. Carbaugh will come off the field. So in on offense now, we have Tobin at fullback, Stevens at the tailback. In the broken bone, Amendola is the flanker. And flags fly before the snap. Pat, we may have taken too much time that time.
And according to the indication from Franklin, they're most happy with the play as the referee gets ready to move the ball back 5 yards. Again, no time expired yet. Still 3:08 to go here in the second half of play. And it's going to be a second and about 14 now for Oil City.
Delay of game, Oil City, something certainly we didn't need. Knocked back now to the 14-yard line, second and 14. Actually, second and 13. Oil City will now think about it, maybe having to change the play following the penalty. They'll take a timeout, and so will we. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for quality, precise auto body work.
Maybe a 46 inside or something like that, or a 44 or something. Or even a 42, Dan, or softer in the middle. Well, that guy held up Benson real good on the last one. I don't know what you're going to call to get him up.
Again, the Oil City Student Council would like to thank Roy Rogers Restaurant
Just a 50.
for donating all the cups for tonight's drinks. Roy Rogers is donating all the cups for the entire season. We would like to thank Roy Rogers Restaurant for their support. And the Oilers will have a second and goal just inside the 15.
Whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
Well, I think it's one of those electrical glitches that we're experiencing as the scoreboard did, but we're in good shape now.
Okay, Oil City on offense. Hanlon drops back. He's picked off. And he's picked off by number 80, looks like 88, Jason Blair. Not quite sure who picked that up. I think that was the inside linebacker, Jason Blair, into his hook zone. I think he may have picked off the Oiler pass, and Pat stopping another Oiler drive. I'm sure, I think Hanlon was looking for Benson or Amendola on the play, and didn't see that Franklin white shirt standing in front of him. Blair picks off a pass, and Franklin gets the ball back.
So actually, Franklin in fair position on their own 32-yard line. They'll put the ball in play first and 10. Maybe we can get that clock run out now.
2:48 left to go here in the first half of play. Franklin looking to drop back. That is Boomer Wood. He's tripped up in the backfield by Tobin. Nice play by Jeremy Tobin. That's the second time he's in the backfield in Boomer Wood's face, and both times he has tripped him up for big losses. And big losses it is. It's second and about 20 now. 10-yard sack on that time. Just a shoestring tackle that time, Pat.
So that's a great play for the Oilers as the ball back now on the Knight 22-yard line.
A big loss for the Franklin Knights. So we're definitely starting to think about throwing the ball here. Second and 20. Boomer keeps it. I don't know about that call. Maybe he may have lost it in the slippery conditions out there. You don't often call a quarterback sneak on second and 20.
Well, it was good for about 3 yards that time, though, Scott.
So he gets a little bit back, but not as much as he may have needed. Now we're looking at third and almost 20 yards, so they didn't give him very good of a spot that time, Pat. They'll break the huddle. 1:36, the clock continues to run here in the first half. There still is no score. They've been pretty much playing grind-out football in this first half of play. And Boomer with the quarterback. He'll hand off to the first man up the hole, and that is number 24, Aaron Craddy. Craddy comes off his left or right side, and he'll pick up a few, but still bringing up fourth down and a whole bunch, Pat. They'll call it 4th and 12.
They're not even up to their original line of scrimmage. 4th and 12 as the Knights get ready to punt. We have 1:06 remaining. Deep for Oil City to receive that punt. Mike Stevens and T.J. Carbaugh.
I thought Oil City might call timeout to save some clock there, Pat, but it seems like they're going to be content to go into the locker room tied up. We're inside a minute. The clock continues to run. T.J. Carbaugh, Mike Stevens back deep for the Oilers. So they do get the punt off. It's a high snap. It's over his head, down around the 5-yard line. He'll try to get the punt off. He does. Oil City will let it roll, and he gets a long punt off despite that. Rolls clear down to the Oiler 40-yard line before T.J. Carbaugh picks it up So, Pat, maybe a bad move on the Oilers' part not to call a timeout that time. They get the ball back with 36 seconds left. If they would have called a timeout, they might have had time to score again, but not here.
But that Knight punter, give him all the credit in the world there, Scott. He had the presence to, again, pick up the ball, get the punt off, and he still ended up with some real fine punt there as Oil City with the ball now back on their own 42-yard line.
That was Matt Settle who was the punter, and you can probably credit him for saving an Oil City touchdown that time. On a high snap, he fielded it down around the 4 or 5-yard line, and even though the Oilers were coming in, he got off the punt, and a long roller clear down to the 42-yard line for the Oil City Oilers. They'll come out in the I backfield. Hanlon looking to go deep. He'll roll out left, has a little bit of protection, opens himself up a little bit. He'll keep it, tuck it under, and he'll roll out for about a 3-4-yard gain. Looking to go downfield, didn't see anybody open, tucked it under and ran it, Pat, and he gets about, they'll call it 4th and 5, but that is the end of the first half. There is no score. We'll be back with a halftime show right after these.
Franklin, 0.
good right now, Scott. Hey, no score. They're playing Franklin heads-up ball, and again, they kept Franklin deep in their own territory just about all that first half of play.
Well, if I know Dan Brown like I think I do, he's saying, hey, you guys have this team beat. You know, you've virtually shut down their offense. You've pinned them in their territory the whole first half. And he's just saying, hey, we just got to buckle down on offense and get some points on the board. That's the only reason the Oilers aren't leading these nights 21-0. Franklin, coach, they've got to feel lucky that they haven't been scored on. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Franklin maybe a little bit worried now at halftime. Maybe they saw that score in the paper or heard about it on the radio. Oil City got trounced last week, and they said, this is going to be a cakewalk. We're going to have a party after this game. But it's 0-0 at halftime, and the Oil City Oilers have come out on the field.
And we're waiting for the Franklin Knights. They're still working their way down from the high school locker room. And we're going to keep it here.
We'll take a break, and we'll come back with the second half kickoff right after these.
We have a baseball score to report. After 3 innings, it's Philadelphia 2, Pittsburgh 1. 2-1 Phillies over the Pirates after 3 innings.
Football season in 1992.
Now we're back here at halftime, and while we were away, oh my gosh, what's that hurricane, that Iniki? I think it's here. It hung a left at Wahoo, and it's coming our way. We've got some torrential rain coming down here, folks. And if you're sitting in the car, that's a good place for you this evening. Just lock it on 96 KQW FM and keep it right here, and we will bring the second half to you if you want to stay high and dry. You know, I look down there in the field, and these football players, they love it. They're out there, they're jumping around, and it's like it's not even happening. But they're football players. I'm an announcer. I want to be where I'm in the booth and I'm dry.
And we're still waiting now. The Knights finally make it down on the field, Scott, taking a few extra moments there during the halftime. We'll see if it's going to be costly for them or not, because Oil City down here about 3-4 minutes already. The Oilers out on the field ready to receive that kickoff. As they kicked off the first half, they should receive the ball here to start the second half.
Pat, it is blowing so hard that we have the press box doors open, and I'm right in the middle here. I'm almost dead center on the 50-yard line, and it is blowing so hard out there, I felt a few drops. I got a little bit wet.
In this all-metal press box, Scott, I'm just watching for the water so I don't have to keep my feet in it, because I don't want to fry tonight.
Hey, I'm the one holding the microphone for most of the game. Just remember that. So the Oil City Oilers are out there stretching out, warming up in the field. That's another thing that we've been lucky, I guess. When you get weather like this, you're slipping and sliding. Knees are bending ways they're not supposed to. And what sometimes happens, Pat, is you get freak accidents and freak injuries. And I guess we've been lucky, knock on wood somewhere. Nobody has gotten hurt, at least as we know of, in the first half on either team.
Well, like you mentioned, or rather Dan Brown mentioned in your pregame show there, Scott, hey, 2 weeks in a row we've been real lucky. Oil City coming out of 2 games with virtually no injury. So going into the 3rd game of the season with everybody healthy, hey, that's really important.
Pat, I don't know. I just saw the official throw flag. Now, I don't know if it literally blew out of his pocket, or he possibly maybe even called Franklin for delay of game, because Oil City has been waiting out there for quite a long time, and Franklin hasn't even come out on the field, but now they're bringing the captains out. I think maybe it just blew out of his pocket, but I did see one of those little yellow things fly, and officials can do that, because I remember an Oil City game when I was still coaching with the Oilers a couple of years ago. I think it was when they were playing Erie Strong Vincent. It was at halftime, I believe, and they called Oil City for delay of game at halftime because we didn't get on the field quick enough. But that's those Erie officials, you know.
And that's exactly, I think, what's going to happen now, Scott. I do believe the Knights were called for a delay of game, getting taking too long there during the halftime. As you mentioned, Oil City was out in the field. The officials were all huddled up over in the Franklin side, waiting for Franklin to come back from the locker room, and it's going to be a little costly for them to start the second half of play.
Yeah, Oil City will put their front line up about the Franklin 40-yard line, 42-yard line. T.J. Carbaugh and Mike Stevens will sit down around their own 25, but the way the weather and the wind and the rain is coming down, don't be surprised, Pat, if that kickoff doesn't get any farther than the 40-yard line.
We're ready to go here, the third quarter of play. No score, Oil City Franklin here at the Oil City High Stadium in a driving rain on 96 FM KQW.
So Matt Settle will tee it up, number 40 for the Franklin Knights. He is their kicker to start the second half. And we're ready to get underway and play some football. He will get the boot, and a good lawn kick, almost a line drive, hits off T.J. Carbaugh's hands. He'll try to field it and pick it up around his own 20, and he slips and falls. And when he did that, when his knee touched, he was automatically down in high school football. So, Pat, even though Oil City got a little bit of a break on the delay of game to start the second half, they don't have great field position. They're at around their own 23, 24-yard line, so a break for the Knights right there, and a good kickoff by Matt Settle.
And a 3-yard return for T.J. Carbaugh.
This has got to be, I would think, Pat, the worst field position Oil City has had in this entire ball game.
It is, Scott. We were starting out in the 40, 45, 50-yard line most of the first half.
Oil City will come out in the I backfield out of the pro set. T.J. Carbaugh usually split to his right side. Hanlon still the quarterback, and he'll hand off to Mike Stevens out of the tailback position. Stevens breaks 2 tackles, runs off his right side. He breaks it, he's going. He's at the 50, where he's finally knocked out of bounds. About a 30-yard gain for Mike Stevens as he just slipped and slid and got by several white shirts for the Franklin Knights. A 30-yard gainer for Mike Stevens, the biggest gain of the ball game.
I'll tell you, that gets Oil City out of the hole real fast as quickly Mike Stevens carries the ball down to the, well, let's see, they're going to mark it now.
He may have got pushed out right around the 45. It's depending on the spot there. It looks like that's what we're going to say. He plowed into the Oilers at about the 50. And with the Oilers City players standing, you can't really see where the out-of-bounds marker is, so they do mark him out at about the 46-yard line. So Oil City with a 1st and 10 just underway here in the second half out of the I backfield. Flankers on the left. They'll hand off to Stevens once again. Stevens looks to runs left, and he goes nowhere. There's nobody there, and he's finally held up and knocked back for about a 5 or 6 yard loss. He tried to run left. No daylight there. Tried to reverse field and go right, and ran into some more Knights. So not a good deal of protection by the Oil City line that time, and Mike Stevens will lose 6 yards, Pat.
He picked up 23 on the previous play, lost 6 yards. This time bring up a 2nd and 16, the ball on the Oil City 40-yard line.
So we've seen Mike Stevens in a tailback. We've seen him in a fullback. I don't think we've seen him split out. We have seen him throw to him out of the backfield. He's the workhorse this evening for the Oil City Oilers, who come out in the wishbone backfield. The Knights on defense now. The rains come down. Hanlon once again hands off to Stevens. He's running off his right side. He pretty much gets back what he lost on the last play, so we'll call him with about a 5, maybe 6-yard gain. But again, that will bring up about a 3rd and 10. And the rain falling harder, Pat. Oil City in a passing situation, but the rain's not helping that any.
I was going to say, Scott, we did want to mention that Oil City carrying the ball in a real driving storm right at the present time. Fortunately, no lightning, though.
I know if I was a quarterback, I would hope for this rain to end. And it looks like there is going to be a timeout on the field. Officials timeout. I think they're just going to try to keep that ball a little bit dry. The center for the Oil City Oilers, that's Dave Kraft. He might have said, hey, give me something dry here. I can't snap this thing. So we started play again. Oil City on offense. They'll have a flanker out to the left side in the I backfield. Allen is the quarterback. Taking his time calling signals. He'll pull up, make it look like a pass, but he hands off to Stevens out of the tailback, and Stevens will get about 4 yards on the carry down to around midfield. They'll spot it at the 50 or the Franklin 49-yard line, but again, we've got 4th and about 4. 9:34 left to go here in the third quarter.
What's amazing, Scott, the Knights know that Stevens is going to carry the ball. Stevens still carries the ball. Stevens still picks up 6 yards.
He is the workhorse for Oil City. In the first couple of games, they mixed it up pretty well between Stevens passing to Amendola and T.J. Carbaugh running the ball. But tonight it's pretty much been, hey, Stevens is going to come at you, just try to stop him. But Oil City facing 4th and 4 will punt the ball. T.J. Carbaugh gets the snap, and he gets off one that it's just high and it's going to travel about 10, maybe 15 yards. Not a good kick, but in this rain, is there such a thing as a good kick? It's going to go out of bounds at about the Franklin 35-yard line. So the Oil City Oilers, on their first possession here in the second half, do move the football from their own 20 out to around midfield, but on downs are forced to punt. Franklin takes over their first possession here in the second half, and they're going to start right around the, call it 38-yard line, Pat, 35 maybe.
Looks like 35, 1st and 10 for the Knights on their own 35. Boomer Wood with the ball.
And out of the I backfield, he'll keep it and pick up a couple of yards on that. Oil City Oilers on defense, a host of Oilers making the tackle on that time, Pat. They'll give him 2, so we'll call it now 2nd and about 8. Clock running down here in the third quarter, 8:43 and counting. For the Oilers, the defensive captain, Sean Benson, looks to get the signal from Bob Taylor. And the Knights come out on offense once again. We'll run down the lineup for the Oilers here in just a minute. Mark Seraph in the center for the Franklin Knights. Snapping the ball to Boomer Wood. Looking to pass. He rolls out to his right. He's going to tuck it under, keep it rolling off his right side, and he's met by a couple of Oilers. Number 75, that is Mark Lukasiak, coming way over from his tackle to make the stop. Oilers really string that one out that time, Pat.
I think by the time they're done, they'll give them about 6 yards. The ball even looks like 7 yards. It's going to be like a 3rd and 1 on the play, so that was a pickup of 7 for Boomer.
The Knights haven't had to pass too many times here in the ball game, or at least they've tried to pass, and most of the time they end up keeping it. So 3rd and 2 now for the Franklin Knights. Oil City needs to shut them down here. They're at the 43-44 yard line. And they'll hand off to Casey Hancock, and he'll go up the middle and pick up that first down, gaining about 7 yards, right at about the 50-yard line. They make the stop, Pat. So a first down to start the second half for the Franklin Knights. They're going to spot that ball almost on the 50-yard line. And the Knights coming out running the ball and looking pretty good, Pat.
That's about the biggest carry that Hancock's had all night. He's the son of Rich Hancock, the head coach for the Franklin Knights. The Knights with the ball right on the 50-yard line, 1st and 10.
Boomer Wood will call the signals. He'll take the snap. Hand off to Craddy. Craddy goes off his right side, and he'll get maybe a yard. Not much more than that. Bring up about 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8 now for the Franklin Knights. Several Oil City Oilers, including number 75 for the Knights, or for the Oilers rather. That's Mark Lukasiak, the 6-foot, 210-pound senior in on the tackle.
The clock ticking here in the third quarter, 6:50 to play. No score so far in the ball game, Oil City Franklin.
Oh, you've got to wonder, you heard some of the scores at halftime, Pat, if some of the other places are having the trouble with the weather, because you're hearing touchdowns around the Northwest Conference this evening. At the 48-yard line, Boomer looks to number Blair. Blair will pull it in, and a pass that was caught, Pat, but not much for a gain. He might well have run the darn thing. He only gains about 2 yards on the pass play. So the Knights do get one off on the air attack, but only gains maybe about a yard and not much more. I think he was looking for number 24, Aaron Craddy, and Craddy turned his head, and he had to throw to somebody else.
So that's a first completed pass of the second half of play. Here's again a 3rd down and 7 for Franklin.
Boomer Wood, number 33, the quarterback for the Franklin Knights, calling the signals. Looking to pass that time, pulling in the jump pass into number 85. That's Joe Hazelton, and he will pull it down and pick up a first down for the Franklin Knights at their Oil City 35-yard line. On the old, I think they used to call that the jump pass. Almost looks like a fake, pulls it up, and that's one that the linebackers are responsible for. The end who's been blocking pretty much the whole game, and with a big tight end like Hazelton, he's 6'4", 250. Number 85, a pretty easy target to hit for the Franklin Knights. On offense, they've got a first down at the Oiler 35-yard line. Boomer with the quarterback. He's got the eye backfield. He hands off to the second man through. That's number 34, Eric Barefoot. Barefoot runs off his right side. He's at the 20. He's at the 10. And he is in for a touchdown. From the 35-yard line, he scores a 35-yard gallop for Eric Barefoot, the 5'10", 180-pound senior. So finally, we've got numbers on the board. Franklin puts up 6 on a 35-yard run by the senior Eric Barefoot out around the right side.
And if you were listening to the coach's corner earlier in the evening, you heard Dan Brown say Barefoot playing primarily defense the first 2 games. This is probably one of the first offensive performances he's had in the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, they weren't even sure if he was going to see any action on offense. He's had, I think Dan said, a hamstring problem. And Franklin calls a timeout. They're going to decide whether they're going to go for 2 or kick here. We will take a timeout and come right back. Quarter of play, second half action. Finally, somebody gets on the scoreboard. Eric Barefoot on a run off the right side, a 35-yard TD gallop, and picks up 6 for the Knights. They took a timeout to decide, I guess, whether they're going to kick or go for 2. And early indications are they will go for 2. Boomer Wood in at quarterback. In his backfield will be Casey Hancock at fullback. And somebody just threw a couple of those plastic footballs out there. The Oil City cheerleaders threw some white plastic footballs into the stand during the halftime. And apparently a couple of Oil City fans, a little bit upset at this Franklin score, decided to throw a couple footballs onto the field, Pat. Don't need that here. Franklin sends a man in motion. They run off the right side, and that is Hancock's, and he will punch it in off the right guard, and he will score the 2 points on the PAT. So they will come up the field leading 8-0. We will come back right after this.
Taking off for the Knights will be number 40, Matt Stubble, with Mike Stevens and T.J. Carbaugh each for the Oilers.
Point after by Hancock's. Right now the Franklin Knights lead 8-0. 5:27 left to go here in the third quarter of play. Oil City deep for the Oilers will be once again Stevens and T.J. Carbaugh. Kicking for the Franklin Knights will be number 40, Matt Suttle.
That touchdown covered 65 yards and 7 plays, Scott, for Franklin.
Mike Stevens will pull it in his own 20-yard line, looking to run up the middle and slips and falls. He's down around his own 33-yard line now. So the Oilers take over 1st and 10, down for the first time in the ball game, 8-0. So big drive for the Franklin Knights as finally they get the ground attack in gear. And I don't know, I think they on that play they caught the Oilers looking, Pat. I'm not sure. There might have been a counter on that play. They might have sent somebody to the left and countered back on the right. In any case, 1st and 10 for the Oilers. They come out in the wishbone backfield. In the backfield for the Oilers will be Tobin, Stevens, and T.J. Carbaugh. He'll pitch back to Stevens, running off his right side. Met at the line of scrimmage, maybe even a little bit behind it. He may have gained a yard if they give him that, not much more. He may have just got back to the line of scrimmage. They stay on the spot. He lost about a half a yard, so call it second and about 10 and a half now. On defense for the Knights up front, we'll see Mike Bell, Fred Doyle, Dan McGreevy, and Joe Hazelton. all over 210 pounds. Oil City on the front. Dave Kraft the center. Williams and Knight the guards. Barr and Lucasiak at tackle. And at tight end will be Sean Benson. Full house backfield for the Oilers. Hanlon calling the signals. Pitch it back to Stevens once again. Running off his right side looking for daylight, but there is a flag on the play. Thrown by the official in the middle of the field, so we'll have to wait and see what that's going to be. Waiting for a call, and it's going to be holding against Oil City. Something they certainly didn't need. They'll take that one back 10. That'll bring up a 2nd and 20 if they take the penalty. Since they shut them down, they may elect to decline it. No, they're going to back him up. Call it 2nd and 20 now. Something the Oilers didn't need, Pat. We've got 4:14 left to go here in the 3rd quarter.
Scott, with the exception of the 3-yard return by T.J. Carbaugh to start the 3rd quarter, Mike Stevens has carried the ball 7 straight times for Oil City. He's been the only handler other than the quarterback.
It pretty much made him the workhorse, where before, as we mentioned, they had mixed up the plays quite a bit between Stevens, Carbaugh, and passing to Amendola. And Tobin, I think, had a couple of carries in the first half, but hasn't touched the ball here in the second half. Oilers out of the eye. They split a receiver wide on the left side. On the counter, that's Stevens, and Stevens looking to counter off his right side, gets nowhere. He's saying, hey, guys, give me some blocking here. He had a moment of daylight, didn't hit the hole quick enough, and it closed just as quickly as it opened, and he is shut down. 3rd and, call it 20 now, for the Oil City Oilers. And Pat, if there's ever a passing down, this is it.
Well, I see Mike's still in the ball game as Amendola brought the signal in for Carbaugh. We'll see what's going to happen here. 3rd and long, real long, 21 for Oil City.
I don't know what happened there. Amendola went in, told TJ the play, and TJ went back in, and Amendola came back out. Okay, so Oilers with a wishbone backfield. Doesn't look like they're going to pass here. They fake the handoff off the right side, handoff left, and that is to Stevens. And I thought he may have fumbled the ball, but the Oilers get it right back. But I don't know, 3rd and 20, running off the left side for a couple of yards, but certainly not even close to the first down, and Oil City will have to punt here.
It did look like that ball squirted out of Mike Stevens' hand, but quickly covered by Oil City. Now the referees say we want a timeout. They're going to take some timeout here to regroup.
4th and about 1.5 acres, Pat. And the officials are talking about whether they're going to watch Murphy Brown or Monday Night Football on Monday.
Speaking of Monday, Scott, the Oiler JVs will be in action with this same Franklin JV team down at Franklin High School Monday at 7 o'clock. This coming Monday, Oil City JVs at Franklin.
With Coach Jeff Riddle, Coach Bill Heber, and a bunch of other Oil City players down there. Should be a good one. Oil City forced to punt here. 4th and 18. The snap is good. TJ gets the kickoff. It is a short one. It's going to land down around midfield. Franklin will pull it in, but drop it. That's number 23 for the Knights. And that's Casey Hancock, the coach's son. Drops it, but picks it right back up, and he's tackled around his own 45-yard line. The officials put it down right on the stripe, and the Knights take over 1st and 10 on their side of the field. But like in the first half, Pat, we played most of the game in Knight territory. The second half, we're playing most of the game in Oil City territory. Great field position once again for the Knights.
2:31, the clock turning here in the 3rd quarter. The Knights out in front, 8-0.
Out of the I backfield, the Boomer Wood will call the signals. Hands off to the second man through, and he'll pick up a couple of yards. 2:15 left to go here in the 3rd quarter play. They'll give him 5, so 2nd and 5 for the Franklin Knights.
That was Orrin Boffman, the ball carrier for Franklin, picking up 5 for the Knights, bringing the ball right out to the 50-yard line.
Right at midfield. Franklin, great field position here in the second half. Aaron Crowdy will come off the field after bringing into play. Boomer Wood, the quarterback. Oil City in their 5-2 defense. T.J. Carbaugh, the free safety. Amendola, the strong safety, looking to come up and make a stop. Take the snap from center, hand off to number 34, and that's Eric Barefoot, the guy who scored the touchdown just a few moments ago, runs off his right side and gains a couple. Close out to the first down, or just shy of it, I think. Well, on the spot from here, Pat, I say the Knights got it.
I say it, and that's what the referee said, indicates that Barefoot picks up the first down for Franklin.
So Franklin, who had trouble moving the ball in the first half, is I don't know what they did during halftime, Pat, but they seem to have got it together.
Well, that penalty to start the second half, paid off for them. They needed a little extra time in the locker room. They accepted the penalty, and now it's paying off for them as they have their offense worked out. The rain has really let up quite a bit now, Scott.
At the 45-yard line, the Oiler 45, the Knights got the ball first and 10. 1:15 left to go here in the third quarter of play. Like the Knights call the signal, handoff to the second man through the hole, and that's Casey Hancock. And he will pick up about 3 yards on the play, 2 or 3. Ben Knight, the nose guard, coming over to make the stop for the Oil City Oilers. Damian Barr now coming off the field. And again, we want to remind everybody you're listening to Oiler football on 96 WKQW FM Oil City. And you can also see this game tomorrow morning on Venango Video, Oil City Channel 13. And that will be at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. Pat Folwell and Scott Roberts providing you the play-by-play this evening. 2nd and 8 for the Franklin Knights. Boomer Wood looking to pass, running out to his left. And he does pass off, pulled in by number 88 for the Franklin Knights. That's Jason Blair, the 6'1", 200-pound senior. And again, Pat, you've got a quarterback who's only 5'9", 140 pounds, but he was throwing to 2 tight ends who are over 6 foot and both 200 pounds or more. Those are easy targets to hit. So the Knights pick up another first down at the Oiler 35-yard line now. And the Knights continue to move the ball up the field. We are inside a minute, and I don't think they're going to get this play off before the quarter ends. 20-19 counting it down. If they do get it off, they will just get it off. Watching the clock here, Boomer Wood, they may get this play off. Sends a man in motion on his left. He does get the play off. Hands off to Hancock's number 23 running off his left side. And they pick up a couple, and that is the end of the third quarter of play with the Franklin Knights leading 8-0. We'll be right back.
Oil City 0.
Ball is marked at the Oiler 33-yard line, Pat.
In the third quarter of play, unofficially, we have Franklin in with 85 yards, Oil City in with 29 yards. Total for the evening, the Knights have about 101, Oil City in with about 67.
Out on defense for the Oilers, Kraft and Benson are the linebackers. And the Knights have the football. Boomer Wood, the quarterback. And it looks like Oil City jumps on that time, Pat. I didn't see any of those white shirts moved, and he draws them. The Knights with a 2nd and 8. They won't pick up the first down, but they'll at least get 5 of that right here on a freebie. Offsides Oil City, so they will march him back 5 right there. So now a little bit easier time for Franklin, almost a free down here. 2nd and about 2. They can afford to maybe gamble and throw on 2nd down and then try to pick up the first down on a run, maybe on 3rd.
Ball on about the 26-yard line of the Oilers. The Knights leading 8-0 here just at the start of the fourth quarter.
Double wing set. We've got wings on both ends. Number 29, Rob Sharp, goes in motion right. And the Knights will hand off and go up the middle and close to a first down. 11:53 left to go here. We're just underway in the fourth quarter. 8-0 to score Franklin. But we've played virtually the whole second half of the ball game at midfield or in Oiler territory. So Franklin has enjoyed great field position in the second half. Oil City had great field position in the first half, but was not able to capitalize. They get a yard, but not enough for the first down. 3rd and 1 now for the Knights. Look for them to grind it out right here, Pat. And they're going to think about it. Franklin calls a timeout, so will we. We'll be right back right after these.
Immediately following tonight's game in the high school cafeteria, open to all Oil City students.
The contact lens is designed specifically for the active world of sports. Wrestlers Eye Care Center.
Back here, fourth quarter action, 11:23. We're counting down in the fourth quarter. The Knights threatening once again. They lead this ball game.
Game time is at 7:30 as
moving the ball
Bradford High
successfully here in the second half of play, but maybe just wanted to make sure they were going to get the first down here.
Well, yeah, like you say, 3rd and 1, Scott, and again, I'm just looking from here, you know, the Knights, when we talked earlier about how big they were, they're just illustrated even more. You guys on the left side, I'll tell you, I think we're going to have a shot straight up the middle.
Oh, they look huge. They are huge. They come out in the I backfield with a wing on the right side. Boomer Wood is the quarterback. He'll take the snap from center, rolling out to his right, looking to pass, but no, he keeps it. Running off his right side, he'll tuck it under his arm. He'll get out to the 20-yard line, and he should have enough for the first down, Pat.
I believe he does. He finally brought down by number 89 for Oil City. That's Chad Baker. Again, good for the first down for the Franklin Knights. The ball down now on the Oil City, right about the 19-yard line.
Well, you know, Pat, when that quarterback rolls out, that sends the secondary moving around out there. They're looking for receivers to cover, but then when the quarterback tucks it under, they've got to come back up to make the stop. It's very difficult to cover a running quarterback. 1st and 10 at about the 19-20-yard line for the Franklin Knights. They've got the I backfield, splits out to the left side. They'll hand off to the second man through. That's number 24, Craddy. Craddy, a good gainer off the left side. And he stopped out there by a couple of Oilers. Getting up off the pile, number 24 for the Oil City Oilers. And that is Jeremy Toba, the defensive end.
Craddy finding the hole, Scott, picking up 8 yards. Nice play by Craddy.
Picks up 7, 2nd and 3 now for the Franklin Knights. They've got an I backfield and split out on the left side. I like Barefoot's stance in that. Their hands off to number 34, Barefoot running again. And he will certainly pick up the first down that time, Pat. A big gainer for Barefoot as he seems to be the man here in the second half.
In fact, Barefoot right down near the goal line.
Very close to the touchdown. They call it him down at around the 3-yard line. So 1st and goal for the Franklin Knights. And Oil City, who have not moved the football that well here in this ball game. We've got to remember they're moving against some pretty big guys out there. And the same Knight team held Franklin to 50 yards total held Titusville to 50 yards total offense last week. The linebackers come up to try to make the stop. They bring the secondary in. It looks like a blitz, and Boomer Wood will keep it. And he'll go off his right side and punch it in from about 3 yards out on the quarterback keeper. Boomer Wood, the only 140-pound senior quarterback. I guess he just fell in behind his center, Mark Seraphin, 5'10", 180. He's got 210 pounds on his right guard, Dan McGreevy. Got in behind those two guys, and they just ground it out, Pat.
And we got 9:41 remaining to play in the ball game as the Knights are up by 14 zip. We're getting ready for the point after.
And by any indications, Franklin went for the 2 points last time. They lead 14-0, and they will go for 2 points again here to kind of put this game maybe out of reach for the Oil City Oilers. Double wing set. And they'll send Craddy in motion. They'll hand off. No, he'll keep it. And he'll run it in easily. Boomer Wood will fake the handoff up the middle and run it in from his right side using his speed. And he gets in for 2 more points. Count it, 16-0. The Franklin Knights on top with 9:41 left to go here in the 4th. And we'll be back right after this.
Franklin touchdown drive covered 55 yards. Matt Subtle to kick off for the Knights. Deep for the Oilers, Mike Stevens and T.J. Carbaugh.
If it was anybody's ball game, they went into halftime 0-0, but came out. It's been pretty much all Franklin here in the second half as they score for the second time in this ball game, scoring once in the 3rd quarter and once here to start this 4th quarter. They lead 16-0. They'll get the kickoff. And it looks like it's going to go out of bounds at about the 20-yard line. Flags will fly. And Oil City will probably make them kick it again here, Pat.
The rain has stopped, and the score is 16-0 as we will kick the ball again as the ball went out of play on the 20-yard line. Went out of bounds on the 20-yard line on the kickoff by Franklin. The flag thrown. We're awaiting the call.
Well, that's going to help the Oil City Oilers down 16-0 with 9:41 left to go. They are going to have to put this ball up a little bit. What they're going to have to do is Oil City is going to have to buckle down, give the quarterback Hanlon some protection. And they have. I don't think they've hit Amendola on a pass yet this evening. And he was the man who caught a couple of passes last week and certainly a couple against St. John. So maybe look for Amendola.
Well, we have 9:41 to try just about anything now, Scott. 9:41 remaining in the ball game. Franklin up by 16-0. Football action on 96 KQW FM in Oil City.
So it looks like they're going to make him kick it again here, Pat. A little bit of confusion out there on the part of the officials, and now maybe they're not going to make him kick it again. I don't know.
Originally, Dan Brown indicated he wanted the territory, so they're going to mark off the ball, and Oil City will put the ball in play on, looks like their own 35-yard line. Well, ball went out of bounds on the 20. Penalty declined by Oil City. Going to be 1st and 10 for Oil City on their own 35.
9:41 left to go here in this ball game. We're in the 4th quarter. Franklin leads 16-0 on touchdowns in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Now Oil City with the football. Hanlon, the quarterback, will work out of the I backfield. He's got Stevens at fullback. Carbaugh is the tailback. He'll take the snap. Handoff to Stevens, who's just crushed at the line of scrimmage. I won't even begin to say the numbers on Franklin, Pat, because it looks like about 8 of those 11 white shirts out there met him at the line of scrimmage. And
well, the first tree we saw get off the pile there was number 17, Jeff Steigerwald. Had a big game against Titusville last week and turning in a good game for Coach Hancock today. So it's a loss of about 2 yards on the play, 2nd and 12 for Oil City.
And I'm sure Stevens is going to get a little bit tired of that at this point. You know, he wants to run the ball, but he wants to at least have a chance to run it. He's not even getting out of his stance after he gets the handoff before he's crushed out there. And the I backfield once again, he's got Tobins and Stevens behind him. He'll look to pass. He does hit Amendola, and Amendola will pick up the 1st down, and he'll get across midfield. They'll knock him out about the Franklin 47-yard line. And we called it, Pat. We were hoping they would look for Amendola to try to pick up some big gainers here in the 2nd half. They do. They'll gain about 12 yards on that pass play and pick up a 1st down across midfield. So the Oilers moving the football here on 96 KQW FM. We've got Oilers football for you each and every week. Next week we'll be traveling to Bradford, and that should be a good game too. We hope you tune in for that one. Well, Stevens will come off the field now, Pat.
Giving him a much-needed and a well-deserved break there.
So Oil City will have Tobin at fullback, and T.J. Carbaugh will be the tailback. They've got a hard slot on the left side, and they'll hand off to Carbaugh, who is clotheslined at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not sure who that was for the Franklin Knights, but he met TJ with a forearm right in the face, and I saw legs flying. He went down hard, Pat.
But I'll tell you, he bounced right back up, so give him a lot of credit there. Hit hard, loss of a yard on the play. Mike Stevens back into the ball game after a short break. 2nd and 11 for the Oilers.
And TJ, his head is still intact, Pat. He'll come off the field. 2nd and 11, 7:59 left to go here in the ball game. Oilers with the football, 2nd and 11. Hard slot on the left side, I backfield. Hanlon rolls out looking to pass. He's got Mike Stevens in front of him blocking. Looking to go to number 44 for the Oil City Oilers. That is Mike Eckert, and nowhere near him. Way short of his intended receiver, and it was not picked off, luckily, for Hanlon on that play. So now we have a 3rd and 11, certainly a passing down this time.
Clock stopped now, 7:45 remaining in the ball game. The Knights up by 16 if you're just joining us from the high school stadium. Franklin 16, Oil City nothing.
Oil City coaching staff, Dan Brown getting ready to send in the play. He's got Carbaugh there bringing in the play. He'll come in, and I think it was maybe Mike Stevens who is coming out. Yes, it is. Here he comes off the field now. Also, so does number 44, the Mike Eckert, the man that pass play was intended for. Hard slot on the left side, I backfield. He splits on the left side. And Hanlon tries to roll out, but he is caught shoestring tackle there by one of the Franklin Knights. And that was number 36 for Franklin, and that's Bill Doherty, I believe, a 6'1", 160-pound sophomore who comes in a shoestring tackle, just slipped in and caught Hanlon 2 steps back from center, Pat. He never had a chance that time.
I thought maybe Franklin left the line just a hair too soon there, Scott, but the ref didn't catch it, and it's Oil City's going to have to punt.
So 4th and about 15, Oil City punts the ball, and again we've got T.J. Carbaugh back. He'll take the snap. Hasn't had a good second half punting. Gets off a decent one right here, and Franklin will pull it in about the 20-yard line. I thought they were going to call a fair catch, but I guess not. Returning up the right side, left side, and he gets it up to about the 34-yard line before Oil City brings him down, and Franklin will take over. 6:59 and counting down here in the 4th quarter. They'll spot the ball right around the 35-yard line and look for a dry one this time, a dry ball. Right at the 35 marker, Pat. So 1st and 10 for the Franklin Knights.
And the clock turning, 6:55 to go in the ball game. Franklin with the football.
Oil City, if they have any chance of winning this ball game, will need to shut them down here and then start thinking about using the timeouts maybe on the next series of downs. Franklin's got a flanker out to the left side. He'll hand off to the second man through. And that is number 15, I believe. We're starting to see some fresh shirts for the Franklin Knights. And that was Orrin Boffman, a junior for the Franklin Knights. So we're starting to see some fresh jerseys in here for Franklin. In fact, they're sending in 3 different people with the plays now. So a lot of people from Franklin getting action here this evening on a Friday night for Oil City football. They come out on offense. Oil City staying in that 5-2 defense. Boomerwood calls the signals. Hands off to the second man through. He tried to break it off the left side, but Oil City shut that one down. And let's see if they give him about a yard, maybe getting back to the original line of scrimmage. They'll give him about maybe a foot. So we'll call it now 3rd and 6 for the Franklin Knights. Not moving the ball quite as well as they did on the last series. And Oil City shutting them down right here. But with the clock ticking down, Pat, Oil City may have to start thinking about using some timeouts if they're going to have a chance of winning this ball game.
We have a 3rd down, the ball on the Franklin 39-yard line. As you mentioned, Scott, time running out. The Oilers are going to have to do something here, get the ball back, call time, and get some points on the board.
Wing on the right side in the I backfield. Boomerwood looking to pass. He'll tuck it under once again as he's done the whole ball game and keep it. And he'll get out almost to the 45-yard line. Depending on where they say he went out of bounds, it might be relatively close. He should be about a yard or 2 short of the first down. Well, they say they knocked him out a little bit before that. So he's at about the 44-yard line with the first down marker at about the 45. He's going to be about a foot short, Pat.
So we'll give him 4th and a yard to go here. And the clock moving. Maybe they're just going to be content with try to run out the clock too, Scott. We'll see what the play is here on 4th down.
Surprised. They're going to go for it, Pat. If they don't get it, Oil City can have excellent field position. Oil City's really got to suck it up here. They've got to shut him down. They can get great field position and get right back in this ball game. They got him. Oil City did exactly what they needed to do that time, Pat. Franklin more or less shoving it in the Oilers' face, saying, okay, we're on our end of the field, but we're going to go for it on 4th down anyway. And I think that ticked Oil City off just enough where they busted into the backfield and shut them down. Oilers take over on the Franklin 46-yard line, 41-yard line, excuse me.
Boomerwood slipping up there. Mark Lucasiak quickly stopping them from regrouping. And that same thing happened last week against Greenville, if you remember, Scott. The Trojans well out in front, and they turned around and tried to get a 4th down. Oil City got the ball back and went in for a score.
So Oil City with the football now in the 4th quarter. They're moving. They pitch back to Stevens out of his tailback spot. Tries to run off his right side, but again, Pat, just not enough blocking there on the Oil City line as several white shirts from Franklin come up to make the stop, and they knock him back for about a 2-yard loss. 2nd and 12. We're inside 4 minutes here left to go in the ball game. T.J. Carbaugh comes off the field, and the Oilers have got the new play. They've got to do something here, Pat. This ground attack just hasn't been working.
And the clock turning here, Scott. We're down to about 3.5 minutes to go in the ball game. Oil City trying to get a score.
They've got a hard slot on the right side. Hamlin drops back. He has pressure, and he passes to number 22. I believe that was Jeremy Amendola, and it hits him in the hands as he falls down, and he loses it. So a drop pass, no good. 3rd and 12 now for the Oil City Oilers. Franklin's got to know they're passing here, Pat, and they've got to capitalize. This is going to be their best chance in the ball game. to get a score.
Oil City 1 for 3 with their passing here in the fourth quarter. Third down and 12.
So one of Oil City's best receivers, Amendola, comes out. They send Carbaugh in with the pass, so maybe a running play here, or look for the tight end, Sean Manson, maybe one of the receivers. We had one pass earlier to Eckert that was a little bit short. Oil City was out on offense. Hard slot again on the right side out of the I backfield. Hanlon drops back, has a little bit of protection. He has a man open, hits him, but as quickly as he hits him, he gets no gain. He hit him at about the line of scrimmage and got nowhere on the play, Pat. That was Mike Eckert again on a little pass out in the flats. Eckert caught it right at the line of scrimmage, and he was met by the Knights. No gain. 4th and 11, 4th and 12, and you got to believe the Oilers have to go for it here, Pat. They've got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. You got 3 minutes remaining in the ball game, and you don't have any points on the board yet. So, it looks like maybe it's going to be a fake, but Carbaugh back to punt for Oil City. We'll see what happens.
Maybe they watched that Steeler game a couple of weeks back, a la Cower Power. They'll try something here. No, they do decide to punt. Carbaugh will get it off, hoping to pin the Knights deep, and the Knights call a fair catch. They only had one guy back, and he's going to let it roll. Then Oilers will knock it down, and they will down it inside the 5-yard line. Looks like they're going to mark that down around the 3, Pat.
So the Knights will get the ball back deep in their own territory. About 2.5 minutes to go in the ball game. That was number 43 for Oil City touching the ball. Sean Benson before the ball got into the end zone, putting the Knights deep in their own field.
So I guess if you're going to execute a perfect punt and pin somebody deep, they did it there, Pat, but that may not work because with only 2:36 left to go, I think Oil City has all 3 timeouts left here in the second half. They're going to have to use them all right here if they're going to get the ball back.
Maybe try to force Franklin into a turnover deep in their own territory.
Send everybody but the coach on these ones. They've got to blitz everybody right here and shut Franklin down. They really have nothing to lose. Franklin runs off the left side. Oil City does send everybody but the kitchen sink, and they shut him down. They'll get a couple of yards, maybe gets out to the 5-yard line. Sean Benson, coming up from his right linebacker spot, makes the stop for the Oilers.
That's Casey Hancock, the ball carrier, picks up 2 for Franklin.
Oil City still hasn't used any of those timeouts. We're inside 2 minutes now and counting down. Oilers still in the 5-2 defense. They give him about a yard or 2 on that carry for Hancock. Call it 2nd and 8 now. Boomerwood will get under the line of scrimmage. He sends number 20 in motion off his left side. Hands off to the first man through. That's number 24, Aaron Crowdy. Aaron Crowdy gets a big gain, and it might be close to the first down, and they pick it up. He'll get it, and the Oilers didn't need to let him do that, Pat.
He got that, plus probably about 4 more on the pickup of the first down by Aaron Crowdy. And again, Scott, the clock turning, 1:28 to go here, and the Knights out already to the about the 19-yard line.
I thought Dan Brown might be using some of those timeouts to preserve a little bit of time here, but I think he's just content to just want as much time off the clock and get into the locker room. Franklin with the football, 1st and 10. Hancock carries the ball, and he's met by a host of Oilers. In on the stop coming up from the safety spot, Jeremy Amendola, also getting off the pile. I had number 62, but I don't think that's who it was. I think it was probably Damian Barr in on the stop, maybe Jason Schneeberger. We're starting to see a few fresh shirts out there for the Oil City Oilers. Midnight will look in the center's eyes from his nose guard spot. Franklin will come out in the I backfield once again. They'll send the fullback in motion to his right. And Boomer keeps it. He does like to run the ball, and he's not afraid to run it either, only at 140 pounds. He'll keep it up the middle, get a couple of yards. And if nothing else, Pat, he takes a lot of time off the clock. They're inside a minute, and we're counting it down.
In fact, about 13 seconds to go, Scott.
And I don't think Franklin will have to get another play off, and that will be the ball game. With the Franklin Knights winning 16-0, that is the final score, and we'll be back with the post-game show right after this.
And that's the end of the ball game with the final score: Franklin 16, the Oilers 0. Oil City would like to thank you for attending tonight's game, and please drive carefully.